Alright, so last time you would have saw Rat 10, I just finished pulling rear end out of it. It was a mess. Both of the front bolts were seized. The back ones came out pretty good. I recently got the sway bar out, and now it's pretty empty back here. The garage was a mess. As you can see, I've got it cleaned up except for all my tools and parts on the bench, whatever. I need to get the Dana44 pulled out, stuffed into the truck, so I can start mocking it up and show you what I want to do. Luckily, this thing doesn't weigh too much, just kind of slide along the floor. But she's a hefty boy. It's got to weigh a couple 100 pounds at least. Okay, I actually took it back out from under the truck just so I could record this part to show you that I'm crazy. This doesn't weigh that much, so I kind of want to just try to put it in by hand. And I mean, like, it's not that bad. I'm not struggling to lift it, so I might just plop it in and hope for the best. Obviously, I need this to be underneath so I can pick it up and plop it over top of the frame rail, or at least get it underneath so I can show you, tell you what I want to do. Okay, so that's about centered with the frame as far as I can tell. Before I took the solid axle out, I marked center line of it on the frame, and the red lines here were where the tires sat, so I at least have some reference point for center. Okay, now that I got that pushed under here, I can climb on top and show you just what I'm working with. First things first, it looks pretty cool back here. It's also massive, it's huge, but it is also, I don't know if you can see that, it's wider than the frame itself. The mount is about 42 inches wide and the frame is no more than 40. So you can see here it sticks out a little bit. There's a couple ways to fix this. The proper way to do it would be to cut the back of the frame off, step it out, and have a wider frame rail coming back, which is known as back halving the frame. You're taking the back half off and making a new one. That's a lot of work, that's expensive, I don't want to do that. I can also see the gas tank is going to be in the way when this comes up of this axle. So I do need to get rid of that, which is okay because I have a tank out of a S10 Blazer that mounts in the back here with 2 straps instead, so I can get rid of this entirely, which solves that problem. And then the other way I'm thinking of mounting this in here, first the ghetto way, one of the getaways that is, basically where this main wing mount comes up is to trapezoid the frame out and tuck it up in there, which I'm not gonna do because that's incredibly ghetto and really irresponsible of me. That's probably not very great to do. The other ghetto way I was thinking is to take these mounts, slip it up on top of the frame, and then have a little channel to tuck this guy into up here. But again, that's really lazy. It makes installing and removing it a huge pain in the ass, and I don't want to do that. What I think I'm going to do is a step notch. It's known really good with lowriders. Basically what you do is cut the frame out from here and here, and then you get some box tubing the same size, you weld it up to whatever height you need, come across, and then catch the frame back down on the backside. And that gives me the advantage I can hang a mount off the side of wherever it's going to sit to grab this mount and mount it wherever I want on the frame. I'm going to get this tucked up on top of the frame, or at least on a jack, just to see how the ride height is going to look, and then we're going to go from there. An option I have considered, but I don't know if I want to go through with it, is just making a mount that comes off the frame to grab that, but that's going to make this truck sit like a monster truck, and I do not want that. I want it to be as low as I could possibly get it, but if it's the least modification and it's going to look okay, I might end up doing that. I don't want to do this. Okay, it'll be good enough for mock-up purposes. It's kind of balanced, so we'll see. Just got to move it over a touch. Okay, that's kind of in the location I want it for the axle. So I'm just gonna butt the jack up and see how that sits. I don't like it by first look, but we'll see. So here it is, slid in and jacked up so it's touching the frame. This would be the absolute minimum I'd have to do to put this in here. But as you can see, it's already gonna be problematic because of axle clearance. So when the suspension compressor is gonna hit this mount, which is gonna have to be cut off, I do not need that bump stop anymore. But also ride height. There's not a lot of weight in the back of a pickup truck to compress that suspension, as the Corvette had all that junk in the back. And as you can see, there's the back wheel, there's the front wheel. That is a good, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches lower in the back already. So I'm definitely gonna have to get some kind of notch so I can get this mount to sit somewhere up in this range. All right, so some progress has been made. I have the Dana44 in here, and I have some plates just holding the diff on the bottom of the frame to see if I'm gonna have to tuck it up at all. I'm not gonna spare the welds because they're absolutely garbage, but I do wanna get the box on to see how it's gonna look with weight on it. I gotta take the filler neck off. Okay, I didn't necessarily have to take it off, but it makes my life way easier. And the wheels are way too far forward. Way too far forward. But that is pretty much where she's going to sit. So let's see right there. Well, if the truck were at factory ride height, that wouldn't be so bad, but it's lowered 4 inches in the front, so that's not good. Damn. You can see also how much wider this diff is than the original one. The original one would have sat underneath by a good amount. And also my center line is way off. This was just tacked in place just to see where it was, and it's obviously way off, so there's that. This is going to be a lot more work than I thought it was. I forgot to start my GoPro again. I started taking the box off before I remembered, but I'm going to get it off and show you some solutions. So one of the first issues I'm seeing here, just because it's mocked up with these ugly pieces of steel, it's not sitting level. So this diff is obviously supposed to sit as level to the ground as it can on the front. You can see as you push on it, it starts to roll, maybe. Yeah, just like that. So ride height is just a little bit off from where it's actually supposed to be, but that's fine. The solutions I have to make up the height difference are A, getting shorter bolts for the spring, basically compressing the spring more and making it ride at a compressed height all the time. Or what I can do is eliminate that monoleaf entirely and run a QA1 coilover from this mount down here to probably the cross member they're going to use to mount this with, and then I can adjust my ride height wherever I want it to be. That's going to save me a ton of fab work and a ton of screwing around if I were to cut a notch in the frame, tuck it higher up in there, and then go from there. It's not worth it to me to make up some of the ride height by a couple inches by notching it into the frame like I was going to do here than it is just to have a little higher in the back as opposed to the front, because the front tires probably sit, or the front fender, sorry, sit probably about here. And I think my ride height with the lowering blocks I had in, they were 4-inch blocks, and I think it probably sat about here. So I got to bring it from like here to within the range of close, so it's not going to look stupid. And I think I can do that with bolts or coilovers. So I think we're fine. What I'm going to do is basically, like, these two pieces of metal here, weld them onto the frame further back, obviously, because the tire centering was awful. And I can tuck this like right up to the frame and it's gonna be fine, everything will be good. So that's how I'm gonna mount it, that's how it's gonna go. It's kind of ghetto, but it'll work.